Welcome back. We're here with our plant and garden expert Craig Sept answering all of your Facebook Live questions. And we left off with Karen. And Karen asked, I have about a dozen hydrangea bushes and trees. I've never fertilized. Should I?
If you're going to fertilize the hydrangeas, be very light on the fertilizer. Any general fertilizer can be used on most hydrangeas. If you have the ones that are going to be blue, I would be putting some sulfur on them right now. It's not really a fertilizer. You're just trying to change the pH of the soil. And for those in the spring, I would be using some Hollytone. That's a fertilizer for acid-loving plants. And use organics in general on hydrangeas. They're not heavy feeders.
Okay. Pat is asking, when should succulents be brought inside and how do I keep them from getting leggy?
Okay, succulents, they can take a little cooler temperature. Remember that, most succulents have to go through a cool period. So I would say you could leave those out until the nighttime is consistently dropping 50 to 45 degrees. Make sure that you're running them dry right now. I'd have them set off someplace where they're not going to get any rain on them, so you have control of the water. And of course, with succulents, as much sun as you can possibly give them to keep them from getting stretchy.
And we have another question from Pat who asks, is it too late to transplant iris?
Well, we're on the verge of it. If it's a kill or cure operation, I'd say go ahead and do it. Just be prepared. The time to do iris transplanting is mid-July, so we're running a little late here. Be prepared. Next spring, as the ground just thaws out, you will go out and you will just gently step on each rhizome to push it back into the ground, because I can guarantee that Mother Nature, with frost heaving, is going to try and pop them out of the soil.
All right, Wesley's asking, a few of my apples are starting to fall off the tree. Is now a good time to pick?
It really depends on the variety of the apple. Too bad you don't have a Brix meter. That tells you when the sugars are absolutely the highest. But if you've got apples falling off the tree, I'd say I'd pick one, see how good it is. If it's still got that little astringency to it, give it a little bit longer before you go ahead and do your picking.
And we have a question from Tracy who asks, my sweet autumn clementine,
Clematis.
Thank you guys. Obviously, I don't own a garden. Does not have a fragrance.
Sweet autumn clematis is not overly fragrant. There is a very light fragrant, and if you have an absolutely massive plant like the one that used to just cover my garden house every year, you might get some fragrance out of it, but they are not really known for their fragrance. It's that spectacular fall bloom that we grow them for.
Sally's asking, when is the best time to trim a hydrangea, or should they not be trimmed back?
Personally, I do not prune hydrangeas. I let them stand through the winter. Those spent flowers gives you a little interest against the snow during the winter. Then in the spring, you go ahead and take out just the dead wood. Once you've got about 2 inches of new growth, you know what's alive, what's not, cleaning them up at that point.
Okay, and then we have someone that texted our station. How do I replant black-eyed Susans?
Black-eyed Susans, okay, I'm assuming this is the perennial black-eyed Susan, and it's like any other perennial. Get your new bed ready, move them with a nice clump of soil attached. If they're really huge, you can actually do some division at that time. And again, replant them, use the root stimulator, plenty of mulch to protect those roots as the ground cools down.
Plenty of mulch already. And John asks, I just found some asparagus crowns in my basement that I ordered 2 years ago. If I wait for spring next and plant them, will they grow or should I order new ones?
At this point, if they haven't been planted up until now, I've got a feeling you're not going to see much growth in them at all, because they just do not have a 2-year shelf life. I would be prepared to get some new ones ordered next spring, and if you do happen to get some growth, yes, then they can go in the ground next spring. And remember, they get planted deep. Asparagus are planted over 6 inches deep when they go in the ground.
All right, and Pat is asking all of the questions today, and they said, is bee balm best transplanted in the spring?
I would wait until spring. That is the best time. Once the plant has started to show some new signs of life, then you can go ahead and move it, divide it. It should come through just fine.
All right, Craig, thank you so much, and thank you for all the questions, of course. Be sure you join our Facebook Live each and every Wednesday, where you can submit your questions and be a part of that conversation. Good Morning Quad Cities at 11 will be back in just a moment.